Hello, everybody. This is Lisa Wiest with Blood Cancer Uncensored. And today I'm chatting with my new friend, Susan Hartman, who is the author of a cancer survivor blog and resource site that she has created herself called Fierce with Joy. So without any ado, I'm going to ask Susan just to tell us a little bit about that and about her cancer journey. Hello, Susan.
Sure. Thanks. And it's great to get a chance to see you and talk to you, Lisa. Thank you. So I started my journey. I'll talk about that. Is that in May of 2020, I had a rather abrupt and startling discovery, which came on very suddenly. I'd say in a matter of weeks. Whereas some people might have cancer that goes undetected for a long time. Apparently, I did not, and I think of that as a small blessing in some ways, because what happened was that I suddenly couldn't breathe, and it turned out that I had a large mass in my chest that was pressing on my aorta. That mass was tied directly to the fact that I had lymphoma. So I've been diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic lymphoma, T cell, for anybody that knows the distinction, non-Hodgkin's. And so I ended up going into the emergency room, and they immediately admitted me. And then that started me on this rather crazy journey that lasted for an entire month. I didn't leave the hospital for a month at that point, because what also was happening is that everybody was in lockdown because of COVID. So I kind of joke with everyone that I kind of missed out on the pandemic, because I would have been isolated no matter how you looked at it. The hospital was a very different experience because everything had to be reoriented to support the COVID issues. And there was a big panic over the idea that if you had a cancer patient coming in who tested positive for COVID, that would be a big problem. They didn't know how to address it. And unfortunately, that's what happened. So when I was admitted, I did test positive. I was fortunate in that I did not present with symptoms for COVID, but they did put me on what was the drug that they were working on, remdesivir, I believe is what it was called. So that may have made a big difference in terms of my not just not getting really sicker. I started in May, and the treatments went on until November of 2020. So I essentially was in and out of the hospital on cycles. I had 8 cycles of treatment, in the hospital for a week, home for 2 weeks, this kind of thing. And it did progressively just really knock me down. It was funny because they said at the beginning it might be more difficult. For me, it was really as I got to the end, I was just running out of energy, running out of gas, running out of everything. But really determined, and I was fierce about the idea that I was going to beat this, I was going to get through it, and I was going to be okay in the end. And that's where the fierce comes from. The joy comes from the fact that I had so many amazing experiences with the people that I met, the medical care I received, which I was very fortunate that we have really a terrific hospital affiliated with Brown University here in Rhode Island. So these incredible, brilliant, bright doctors, they're all so young and they're so, incredibly knowledgeable. They were terrific to work with, the team of oncologists. So at any rate, I spent that whole year doing that. And then when I came out and was complete with that first round, I then have been on a 2-year maintenance treatment, which means I do outpatient chemo. So I have chemo daily, and I have a monthly cycle of chemo that I have to do. And the objective is that I finish up in December of this year, and I will be complete. And as my doctor says to me, I asked her, are we going to be breaking up in December? And she says, yes, it'll be cold turkey. So she's got a good sense of humor, but I'm okay with that. So that's basically how it all came to pass.
That is a wonderful story. And it is interesting and pretty amazing to be able to praise a team that you didn't even get a chance to research. Some people can shop around.
No,
You
no.
didn't have that choice.
No, I was assigned, maybe it's the joke about Rhode Island and how small we are and what a tight medical community even we have. So it turns out that the doctor who saw me in the hospital when I first got in there connected me to the oncologist that she recommended that I see, who is my oncologist, and they work in a team. But the other thing was that she also happened to know my general practitioner. So all of these women, they were all women, by the way. It turns out all of the women that were caring for me all happen to know each other. And there's a lot of strength in that. There's a lot of collaboration, everybody holding each other up in terms of, the way that we do the work and we get through it. And they were, offering me a number of services that would be available through the medical community. It's called Lifespan. So they have a number of other support services that they can offer you. And then they did also, my doctor did recommend that I get a second opinion and go see someone at Dana-Farber, which is up in Boston.
Mhm.
So I did trek up there one day, and it's an amazing place. And I thought, boy, I hope I never have to come up here. So I was really grateful that I didn't have the invasiveness of the leukemia in my bone marrow. It was a very low incidence. And because they hit me pretty hard for quite a while, they essentially knocked that back. So, but again, the doctor that I went and saw at Dana-Farber was a rather terrific top oncologist. And she was also really, really super and very supportive and stayed in touch, which was interesting. I thought it was impressive that everybody remembered all of the different parts of what was going on, and they knew every time they walked in my room, they knew what was happening next, So I know not everybody has that experience, and so I recommend that if you're not getting that experience, then you need to press on it and be an advocate to get that information.
Yeah,
So
I agree. So, you had, one day you were fine, basically.
yeah.
The next day your life was totally flipped upside down. So how have you coped with this whole situation? What helps you?
Yeah, so I would say the thing I had several people suggest, well, bring a book, journal what's going on, because I was also isolated when I went into the hospital. I couldn't have anybody with me. So all of these times that I'm in the hospital, I never had, my husband couldn't be with me, my family, my friends, nobody. Um, so I had long conversations on the phone, which really helped a lot to be in touch with, certain, my husband and my immediate family. But the journaling really was helpful as well. And I encourage people to do that, even if you're not someone who writes things. And the reason I got into it was because it became a place where I could, you worry and you fret and you're waking up in the middle of the night and you've got all these crazy things going on in your head and you don't understand what's happening, or you have a question, or you don't know, well, who was the person that just walked in here and why did they come in here? You start questioning yourself. You really start wondering if you're going nuts. And I thought, how I'm going to manage this? I'm going to write down every conversation I have, every person that I talk to, everything that they tell me. And that way, at least I can go back to it, because I don't have a second pair of ears. I don't have anybody, like my spouse, that can sit there and listen to this with me. And I found it really helpful because I went back many times to the notes and I thought, okay, I understand what this was. All right, okay. So, and I also wrote things down because there's you ask how I got through this. I think there's a certain naivety that I had, because I don't think it dawned on me how long this was going to take to get through this whole thing. And she did tell us, she told my husband was on the phone with me and she told us about it. But, it's one of those things when you go back and look at your notes and you say, well, she did tell me it would be many months. So here we are, But I found that to be enormously helpful. I also think, and I've seen evidence of this with a number of people, any amount of faith you have, any amount, whatever it is that sustains you, whatever it is that comes into your life that helps to support you and make you feel safe, secure, whole, whatever it is, and for everybody, it's a different type of faith. That really helps a lot. So I was in a lot of prayer circles, which was kind of funny. I got a kick out of the fact that there was a non-denominational amount of support going on there. I really think that the biggest thing that helped me was just being able to stay as positive as I could. I tried to stay objective of what was happening. I tried to read things and occupy myself with things that weren't about medicine and about being sick. So I read a ton of different books. People would say, what can I do? Because I couldn't have food or flowers or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, send me books, send me magazines, send me puzzles. So I had tons of that stuff. And it really helped a lot. It really did. And then there was a woman who came around with art, and she would do, I'm not an arts person, but now I really enjoy, collaging and paper and, painting and things of that nature. And doing that art was really great because what it did was to kind of give you an opportunity to express a part of yourself. And whether you are feeling good or not feeling good, you can express it through whatever you're designing or drawing. And sometimes that also can uplift you,
Yeah.
So things like that were really helpful.
Oh, that what a great thing. And we do have people in our group that constantly ask, like, so and so's got to be in the hospital for, like a stem cell or something like that. What can we
Hmm.
give them? So though you just in effect gave ideas of how to keep people from the watching TV doldrums.
Hmm.
But also, did you by
Yeah.
any chance make any friends with the staff, like in a way?
Yeah, actually I did. So there were a handful of particular nurses that I thought they were fabulous. I used to make my husband, he would bake me little pound cakes, like cinnamon pound cakes. I couldn't eat anything. It was really, it was so bad, as I'm sure a lot of people would understand. And so he'd make these little cinnamon pound cakes, and I'm like, you got to make more because the nurses want some. They're like, wow, this is great. I want, So I'd share out pound cake with them, and um, I just lost my train. Oh, the nurses. So there were two in particular that I seemed to get them a lot every time I hit the floor. I would always see them on the days they were in the day routines, daytime routines, excuse me. And after the fact, now that I'm an outpatient, I go into the cancer center about every 2 weeks for the blood work and tests and such. And one of them had transferred down to that floor, which I didn't realize until much later. So it's been really nice to see her. She'll pop by. Even when she wasn't my nurse and assigned to me, she'd pop by and say hello. And they'd come in and chew the fat because for them it was also a bit stressful. They were working in areas of the hospital that weren't their normal home for oncology because everyone got shifted around. They had to take so many floors of the hospital for the COVID patients. So I actually spent the first 4 months of my treatments in the children's oncology area, and I got to say that's my heart goes out to anybody that has a child that's doing this. It's not something, it's one thing for an adult to deal with it. It's not something I feel children should ever have had to deal with and start their lives with. But so we were all up in this one area, which was very colorful and, yeah, because it's set up for children. And I would see those nurses on a regular basis, and I still do, which is really nice. And of course, obviously, the doctors that did the rotations, you see them all the time.
What a great relationship. And I mean, you're just being where you are. Like, you didn't plan it, you didn't intend for it to
Yeah.
happen, but you just embraced it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your blog?
Sure. So because of all that journaling, I have, several notebooks of things, and it started out, I say this actually on my site that this started out where it was really something that I just needed to get it out of my system. And so there's a cathartic thing when you write stuff out, whatever it is you do, find the thing that's going to help you to work out, whatever that angst, concern, worry is. And so I took all of that writing and I started to put my stories together, and I created the blogs and put them into this site, fiercewithjoy.com. And so you go backward into the postings and you'll see the early ones. I just started building those. And then I started doing a lot of research on different things that would help, like, what do I do about all these side effects? Because everyone's got a different combination. Some side effects are really awful. I mean, if I never have another mouth sore in my life, I'll be so happy. Oh my gosh. And so, you've got all of these different things that can go on. And usually they'll tell you, oh, we suggest you try this, you do this. But then I started finding that as I was researching around or asking around, talking to other people when I go in the center even, hey, what did you do about X and Y? That everybody's got a solution. And I started putting that together so that if someone were trying to figure out, well, what do I do about, I've got all these physical things going on, or I've got issues with eating, or I really was worried about nutrition. And that's been a big thing for me because I did end up developing some osteoporosis as a result of all the steroids, the courses of steroids I've been on. And you have to be careful of that stuff because that's a longer term side effect. You got to build up your muscle, get your bones in good order. And oops, I have something on my screen I'm trying to get rid of. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. And get yourself back in good health. Figure out what you can eat, get some movement. So what I did is to build up all those resources and create a location where you can go in and search for them and find places to wigs, hats, body creams. What is it that you need? And do the thing that's going to make you feel good. I mean, I'm a big proponent of being comfortable, feeling as good as you can possibly feel. It's really important.
Yeah, so getting people connected with that. And I was going to say, so just for the folks watching the video, this is being recorded on September 9th. We're still in Blood Cancer Awareness Month, and it's been great connecting with Susan and her blog page, Fierce with Joy. And you said it's fiercewithjoy.com. However, Fierce with Joy did join the Blood Cancer Facebook members only group too. So that's another way to connect, because you will be taken to the website, and you can, like Susan was saying, you can search things out on there. So we are very thankful that you showed up, basically, and I'm very thankful that you're doing okay. So what did you do this summer? Did you do anything that was kind of fun this summer that you hadn't done since this happened that you want to share with us?
Yeah, really, I got into the gardening. I've always loved doing the gardening, and I couldn't touch any of that stuff for the last 2 seasons. So yeah, I played in the dirt a lot this year. Got out and did a lot of walking with our dog, which was really a joy to be able to get out and do all that walking. So that's been really nice, go to the music in the park and then of course, now that COVID is so much less of a concern, even just catching up with friends. And so it's been a lot of catching up,
Yeah.
So it's been great. It's been nice. Yeah.
And so hopefully they will do some testing after December around that time to see if you could be considered in remission. Is that what they think will happen?
Yeah. So I think December I'll have the final tests and they'll say, okay, you're all set, good to go. And then I think at that point I come in and do checkups as they roll forward. But I don't have all of that plan set up yet. They'll tell me, I'm sure. But
Oh yeah, they'll keep tabs on you for sure.
yeah,
Though,
for a while, I think, right?
I would venture probably forever.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, blood cancer is just so wonky that if
Mhm.
you might kick this one, but then they just want to make sure that nothing else is going on, which I think is fair.
Yeah,
Still your, but
absolutely.
she did say she's breaking up with you, so maybe
I,
I
I
don't
know my
know. See,
doctor says
me, I get
we're
to
gonna
keep
break
mine.
up.
Yeah, I get to keep mine. He's a little bit younger than me, my oncologist, but I also have CLL, which is the chronic lymphocytic leukemia. So
Mhm.
as of yet, we still get to keep our cancer team.
Yeah.
But I am very, very happy when we can highlight great cancer teams and facilitate, even though it wasn't a huge name, we do have another member with, I think, CLL, who might even go to the same folks. I know that's funny, but with being from such a small area,
Yeah.
sure if, there's not, I know she goes to Dana-Farber for sure. She goes
Oh
up,
yeah. Yeah.
which is kind of par for the course. I
Yeah.
do want to thank you, and I'm very happy
Oh,
that we
thank you
bumped
too.
into each other and that you responded to my request. We would
Yeah.
will want to share this with the world and hear more from you in the future.
Yeah.
And as I wrap up this interview, we'll get this into a media that we all like, and we will share it with the others who need to hear about this. But we hope to hear from you, on our group more. Maybe you could
Yep.
join us sometime on our Zoom meeting. Say hi to everybody that does attend.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be
We do that every
great.
Saturday at 2 o'clock. That's a separate link that is always on the Blood Cancer Uncensored Facebook group page and a couple other places. Okay, it's an ongoing invite that doesn't need a password or anything like that.
Okay,
Right. But
that's
very
great.
glad to hear that things are getting a little bit back to normal. And you kind of got to skip the pandemic, which I think is nice.
Yeah, I know,
Like
right? I don't know.
you
I suppose if you were gonna miss days, you might as well miss those days, right?
right, and also, and that you really were treated very well by your staff, because that's what I know. A couple people were told they couldn't get things, but
Mhm.
that all came together so nicely for you, which is great.
Yeah, yeah,
I thank you very
yeah.
much for
No,
your
it was,
time.
I'm really glad I found you, and I really appreciate you doing this with me, Lisa. Thanks for
Yeah,
asking. I
very
appreciate it.
welcome. Very welcome. All right, we're going to say goodbye for now.